Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars.
This is the latest disclosure, a report from National Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
Wait a minute, something's happening. Some shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror.
Welcome to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
And good evening, everybody. Indeed, it is After Hours AM Deeper Cuts. Hey, this is the first show of our broadcast week, Greg. I'm your
My God.
I know, I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me, as always, my gracious and awesome co-host, Greg Bakken, is with me. Again, man. Again, I cannot believe we've been on the air. We're coming up already, Greg, get this, on 2 months of broadcasting this new show.
I'm like a bad penny. I just don't go away. You know what I'm saying?
Neither one of us really go away that easily. That's why they created, well, restraining orders, you see. And you know, I'm just saying. But this week we got a great lineup of shows for you tonight. Tonight we're talking, well, we're going into the mind of madness. And we're taking a little bit of a departure from what we normally we'll cover on the show, and it's for a good cause. It's really, really for suicide awareness. And we are going to be talking with, well, he's not really the author. He is. It's kind of a strange situation, guys. Imagine you live alone, and imagine you started hearing voices. Imagine you started falling into madness. Imagine you started being confused about what's real and what's not, and that's exactly what we're talking about tonight. And the publisher of this book, Brett Skolnick, is coming on, and these are the memoirs from really a mind of madness. And I'm not going to say his name right now. We're going to get further into that because part of that is something that I would like to maybe keep and let him discuss who he was. Who Allen was, better than I ever could. But that's coming up at the bottom of the hour. We are going to take that hard left turn into not only mental illness, but confusion. Confusion of who you may be. Confusion about what is real, what is not, what is perception. Is perception truly reality? We're going to go deep, deep into the mental health side of things, like I said, with a good cause. And that, of course, will be with Brett Skolnick at the bottom of the hour, man. It's going to be something else.
I know, and you know, I think there's so much you can learn from reading about someone who writes down their thoughts about what's happening to them. I mean, that's the thing that I'm very curious about, because I mean that you are literally have kind of a window into what is going on there.
Yeah, and of course, this isn't like a book you'd be used to reading. This is someone's deepest, darkest diary thoughts. Mm-hmm. And this diary was given to, and he'll talk about it, to Brett for release. He decided to go ahead and release it as a book. And it's called God or Voices, is what it's called, the book.
Yes.
And you can pick it up at Amazon. We got a PDF, of course, for the show. And I'll be buying a copy of the book, of course. Yeah. Very, very interesting. Really, it's kind of scary because it could be anyone. I mean, anyone could fall prey to some of this stuff. You know, when you think about it, and really, a lot of the proceeds are going to, from the book sales, are going to charity, to help suicide awareness, man. So it is serving a better, bigger good than just a journal about someone that ultimately is not with us anymore.
And I think, it's ultimate good on a couple levels. First of all, going, the proceeds helping charity, but also maybe reading the book that people might be able to see some signs that might be mirrored in some loved ones or something too, that could help them.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so that'll be interesting. Bottom of the hour, again, Brett Skolnick will be with us, and he will tell us all about how he got involved in the publishing of God or Voices. And so that's bottom of the hour. Now, as always, I haven't given this enough love lately, but all of our headlines are brought to you by Minnesota Ghost Box, and more importantly, they're also brought to us directly by Greg himself. Greg does all the work to handpick these headlines, and he digs for them, looks for them to really get in there, and I want to thank Greg for doing all that hard work, because it's not easy finding stuff like that out there sometimes. So Greg, kudos to you, my friend.
I just got off the plane from Italy to get you some of these headlines. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing for you, Joel. That's what I'm doing for the world.
That's because you love these people.
I do love these people.
You love these people, and you will stop at nothing. And it might even be uncomfortable love, if you know what I mean, sometimes. So, just saying, it might get a little uncomfortable, but he just loves everybody.
People say, well, why don't you look this stuff up on the internet? Why don't you look this stuff up on the internet? That's what I'm asking you, because I'm going to the locations.
He would rather fly there.
Yeah, I mean, how else do you know about a devil letter written by a possessed nun in 1676, which has finally been translated from dark web?
Really?
Which, as you know, you need to be 18 to get to that.
Ooh.
But that's something else altogether.
So there's a real dark web, Greg? It's not just on movies where they say we found it on the dark web.
Yeah, well, that's what we're being told here, and it's been used to help get this letter translated. So imagine this, Joel. On a morning in 1676, just around the time that we were born, Sister Maria Crocifissa della Canzione allegedly awoke to find a letter written in strange characters, an eerie mixture of archaic alphabets. She was covered with ink. So
wow.
a bit of a fetishist.
A little bit. So she told her peers that Lucifer had possessed her body and used her hands to write the letter, explaining it was essentially to sell her soul and serve evil. She promptly became a co-host of a radio show. She was stuck doing radio for the rest of her natural existence.
She didn't go that evil. It is widely believed that Sister Maria fainted during the incident. Fellow nuns believed her story for generations, and they tried to decipher the meaning of it for ages. Now, it's being said that 340 years later, the puzzle has been solved.
Really?
One of the yes, Joel, indeed. The puzzle has indeed been solved. One of the letters survived time, which I thought there was only one letter, but whatever, and has been apparently translated by researchers from the Ludum Science Center in Sicily. They used a dark web software program. Center director Daniel Abadi said, "We heard about the software, which we believe is used by intelligence services for code breaking. We primed the software with ancient Greek, Arabic, the runic alphabet, and Latin to descramble some of the letters and show that it really is devilish. The letters apparently say God thinks he can free mortals. It seems to test the nature of existence, describing the Trinity as dead weights." Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
That's awfully nice. I like that God guy, but man, is he ever dead weight? Let me tell you.
It's tough talk, to be sure,
It
Joel.
is
It
tough
really
talk. I mean, that's her saying that, not us, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Don't say it's. Yeah, exactly. It says God is a human creation, stating this system works for no one. The river Styx is mentioned, the separation between the living and the underworld in Greek mythology, reading perhaps now, Styx is certain. That'd be STYX. Great in the 70s.
Yeah. I want to start singing "Come Sail with Me."
Well, I wish you would.
Come sail Come sail away with me. Didn't they also do Mr. Roboto? didn't they?
I think so.
Yeah. That's always stuck in my head. That's never far from my consciousness, Mr. Roboto. By the way.
Well, and let alone the fact that we have that Styx tribute band that we perform in.
Yes.
There is that too.
Yes, we're called Broken Sticks.
I was going to say called Stones, but it depends on which night. We have different names for each night, right? Mm-hmm. So researchers believe the nun was well-versed in different languages, allowing her to write a coded message with a variety of characters. And Abadi continues, she may have suffered from a condition like schizophrenia, which made her imagine dialogues with the devil, which is actually apropos for what we're going to be talking about tonight in some way.
Sure.
That has not stopped numerous interested satanic sects from contacting me since I published our findings. Perhaps more interesting, in 1561, Nuremberg, Germany, an event took place in the sky that was eerily described as a battle between geometric shapes in the heavens. People suggest some unidentified flying objects battled over the skies of Germany. The work of art is made to depict the events of the 16th century.
Huh.
And a description of the event provided in 1561 news article, which translates to Wikipedia, that this graphic event happened between good and evil. And I'm not really quite sure what this has to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I'm reading this and I'm like, whoa, hold on here. And it's not a separate article either.
No,
this is what happens when you go to the locations instead of getting it off the internet.
He was really throwing the curveball, when Greg did tell me earlier that I don't often go on the dark web, but when I do, it's to decode 1561 news articles.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, just because, it's 1561, it doesn't mean that we're interested in it. I'm interested solely in 1676. I mean, that's what's going on.
That's where you're at with that. Enough of this exactly. 1561 crap.
Well, I'm glad this show isn't live because we can just edit that. Oh, wait, it is.
Oh, yeah. No. You just offended everyone that lives in 1561, my friend.
Right? I've worked at places where the technology came from 1561.
Yes.
So we got more. We got more stuff. Are we ready for some more?
We are
news
definitely ready
from
for
the
more
headlines.
Yes, sir.
So let's keep on with this kind of religious motif. It's interesting. Who knows what's going on here? So there's a painting called The Baptism of Christ.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of it.
So does the Baptism of Christ painting prove aliens were present at the birth of Jesus?
Well, it proves water was. I'm just saying that was present.
Well, that certainly was present. This 300-year-old painting is believed to prove that aliens were present at the baptism of Jesus Christ.
Well, hold on, Greg. I hate to cut you off there, and I know you're in the flow and you're reading.
Yeah,
but how the hell would they know? I mean, they only painted this 300 some years ago, so it wasn't like they were there. No, they painted it right then. So who would have been there to tell them? Oh, by the way, man, that was the craziest baptism I was ever at. There was even UFOs there, for crying out loud. Want to paint a picture about it? I mean, come on.
It's a very good question. It's the same question that I had, and I believe that it is touched on in this article.
Okay. Sorry to jump your stuff right away without you.
No, it's quite all right. It's quite, because it literally is the same question I have, because it's the painting is from 1710 and has caused hysteria among alien hunters, as appears to show a UFO above Christ. In the painting, John the Baptist can be seen baptizing Christ at the River of Jordan in front of a huge crowd. However, above the duo and the large crowd that gathered to witness this event, there is an object that looks like a spaceship beaming light down. The UFO looks like sort of spaceships that are widely reported and circulated in current day, the conspiracists claiming it adds more fuel to the fire that aliens have been visiting Earth for centuries. Skeptics will say that the Gelder was trying to capture the Bible verse of Matthew 3:16, which reads, "As soon as Jesus was baptized, he went up out of the water. At that moment, heaven was open, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and alighting on him." But alien hunters point to the fact that the sun in the painting looks like a metallic sphere. The Ancient Alien website says The scene is particularly interesting because of the flying saucer hovering over the scene with beams of light shining down and illuminating the event, which it is in the painting, but considering de Gelder's reputation as one of the elite artists of his time, it is likely his work was intended to be taken seriously and meant to communicate that Jesus had ties to alien and perhaps was of alien origins. That's what this Ancient Alien website is saying.
That's what they're reading that into that, though.
They are.
Okay.
They are because the painting itself, if you want to look it up, anyone who wants to look it up, yes, it has kind of the look of what that would be, but really at the center of it, as what it says in Matthew 3:16, it's a dove with a circle, basically a massive halo, and it's shining light down onto the baptism. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't think it's a UFO.
It's a stretch. It's a stretch, my friend. I see exactly what you're seeing. I blew it up here. I'm looking at it, and of course, it is an old painting, and we're looking at it here, and I do see the shape of a dove. I do see a circle, and I do see light coming from the circle, but it's from underneath what would be a UFO. It does not show the UFO in all its glory as a sphere UFO like we would, or that normal saucer UFO that became really, really popular in the 1950s.
Well, and if you look at the painting, I mean, let's not just stop there. Let's say that is a UFO in the sky. Over yonder to the left, there is a bunch of rocks and stuff. Why don't we call that either Stonehenge? Or those are the statues from Easter Island. I mean, why not? Why stop there?
This just thing, Greg. I'm channeling David Bowie. What? There's a starman? He's in the sky? Oh, you want the children to sing and dance? Oh, well, David just said it's a starman in the sky, and he would like us to what? What's that, David? Oh, you would blow our minds. Oh, gotcha. Okay, I just got it all figured out. It's the Starman.
It is.
From David Bowie's song.
It is. Also, I would like to have wished, if we're going to go that far, maybe some of the cast of Star Trek The Next Generation.
What's that,
to be
Spock?
in the painting also.
No, but seriously, man.
Joel, I said The Next Generation. I did not say the classic
really?
series.
Oh, my God.
Come on.
Did you just say the next? Did you just go there?
I did.
You did?
Well, because you went the wrong way. You got it wrong. Let's just be honest.
Oh, I did get it wrong. I did.
Me not reading articles correctly, that's okay for this show, but you getting Star Trek stuff wrong,
there is
that's
no excuse for that at all.
No.
And I will be lashed about the face and neck after the show. I will have to beat myself senselessly until I can talk normally as well, evidently. But getting back to this, Greg, where do you stand personally on the Ancient Alien thing? Do you believe that jury's still out, or do you believe that we are products of the Star People?
If we're products of the Star People, don't you think they would have done a better job?
Well, you would have thought so. We do break down release.
I guess the question is, right, was there, we aren't necessarily the product of it, but we had been... that aliens had given us some sort of push in a certain direction, right, to help us evolve.
That's the rumor. Yeah.
Or at least instead maybe help us lift a couple of massive blocks to build pyramids and that sort of thing. Yeah. Boy, I don't ever want to be like something isn't possible, because if I don't know, anything is possible. But I don't know. I feel like that. I think we might be further along if we were helped. Perhaps.
I think what happens with a lot of it, and again, I'm not bashing believers and non-believers. We're very atypical in that part. We're apolitical, as they would say. We're not making a judgment on either or. But I don't know that we give ourselves as mankind enough credit. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe we did do all this, and we're just so worried about giving ourselves enough credit that we have to look to the stars going, well, it had to have been a spaceship. Maybe it was man's ingenuity. Maybe we don't give ourselves enough credit for the technology that we may have had at one time that man created.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing, too, is you get those like in parts of the world where they have the hieroglyphs and stuff on the walls, and some of the characters will look like they're wearing spacesuits and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean that'd be great. But I mean, I just feel like that there might be more evidence out there, or that there might be, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's to me, it doesn't seem like it's possible.
Yeah.
But I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love to
as well, and I pray to God that they come down going nanu.
Proving that Robin Williams was indeed from outer space.
Exactly, and he's alive and well on Uranus. Sorry, I had to go there. It's like you can't talk about planets without bringing up Uranus. I'm sorry, just can't happen. No.
No, it's clearly true. It is clearly true. NASA would agree.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely great article, and it gives food for thought, but it just doesn't go far enough, in my opinion, to really give it any real, other than just a picture. I mean, other than painting going, wow, it must have been aliens here.
Right.
There's no other deeper evidence to go with it. You know?
Well, I'm just happy that Edward G. Robinson suddenly joined in to talk about it. That was good too.
Edward G. Robinson.
That was your impression.
David Bowie. Oh
no, just
okay.
now.
Yeah, kids, that whole thing. Yes, that's who that is. Yes. Yeah. Well, see, that's what the problem with being the BS psychic is. Sometimes I incorrectly channel people. Even though I'm BSing everybody while I'm doing it, I still can't do it correctly. So, that's why you don't believe a word I say when I'm channeling anybody. Please, I'm the BS psychic.
That's right. Well, do you want to know the biggest BS of it all?
No.
I'm not even going to read the little bit of the bottom of this article that we just read about the UFO about in the painting. I'm not going to read about the 1561 thing in that one either. We're going to move on to a hologram. And we're going to keep talking about aliens. Yep.
Okay, good.
You and I, Joel, and the rest of the world are living in a hologram designed by aliens, a NASA scientist says.
You mean kind of like a holodeck from Star Trek, to go back that way again? Are we kind of like living in a holodeck?
As long as we're talking about the next generation, because holodecks were not in the classic series.
What do you have against the original series, by the way?
Nothing. It's just that if we're going to talk about it, let's be factual about it.
Well, that is true. That is true. See, now, I love the next generation and the original, but, that's the crap of Scott Bakula. You could keep that. All right, you can have
Quantum
that.
Leap? No, I don't.
No, not Quantum Leap. Whatever. And then that Deep Space Nine crap. Yeah, no thanks. I'm good. But the rest of it, I'm okay with. Okay, but yes.
So, what are you? And I know we should be talking about other things, but are you going to watch that new one, the Discovery one, when it comes out?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I watched a very strange space type show, and that was on Sunday with Seth MacFarlane. That was horrible. I didn't like it anyway. Yeah, it wasn't very good in my opinion. I thought maybe I was missing something, but evidently I did. I'm not. It's just that bad, in my opinion. Of course, you guys might have loved it. If you loved it, that's great. But will I watch the new stuff? Yeah, I will. Just like you will. Just like everyone else will. Well, at least check it out. At least 1 or 2 episodes before we totally go, oh my God, this sucks.
Until it goes to the on-demand service from CBS, and you're like, well, I ain't paying for that.
Exactly. So. No, I'm good.
See, I got 50 years of episodes I can watch that I've never seen, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool with all that other stuff I can get for free. But nice one, CBS. Nice try.
So let's talk about this hologram, right? A NASA scientist claims that we live in an elaborated hologram created by an alien race. Nick Bostrom, a professor of philosophy at Oxford University and the director of the Future of Humanity Institute, shares the theory that all we have done or will do could be the creation of a cosmic computer code. Our relationships and memories could be a result of banks of supercomputers. Dr. Rich Torelli, I think that's how that's pronounced, the director of the Center for Evolutionary Computation and Automated Design at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, God, there's a lot of big words.
Yeah, there
has
is.
Said, I'm not meant for this, just saying that. Has said that we can all be the creation of a cosmic computer programmer as opposed to a god. Ooh, controversial. This would mean that we live in a holographic world and that we and everything around us is not real. The NASA scientists told Vice News that NASA supercomputers are cranking away at about double the speed of the human brain, and according to Moore's law, these computers will be able to compute an entire human lifetime of 80 years together with every human's thought ever conceived during that lifetime in the span of a month. Reasons to believe that the universe is a simulation include the fact that it is broken up into particles which do not become defined unless they're being observed. That we might be simulation is, Torelli argues, a simpler explanation for existence than the idea that we are the first generation to rise up from primordial ooze and evolve into molecules, biology, and eventually intelligence and self-awareness. The idea that our universe is a fiction generated by computer code solves a number of mysteries about the cosmos, our quest for extraterrestrial life, and the mystery of dark matter.
Hey,
now,
but,
Joel,
yeah.
do you ever watch Doctor Who?
I do on occasion. I have watched Doctor Who. I don't watch as much as I used to when I was a kid, but I know enough about Doctor Who.
The last series, which is the last series that had Peter Capaldi as in the role of the Doctor, had an episode that dealt exactly about this.
So now, they don't cite who they think made this hologram. They don't have any idea of who did that. So obviously it has to be a grand creator of the hologram. And folks, by the way, we mentioned Dark Matter. We're also on Dark Matter Radio Network. Check us out over at darkmatterradionetwork.com. But that being said, I don't buy it, man. I don't want to buy that we're nothing more than a holograph in someone's big video game. I mean, like we're a really complex version of The Sims.
Yeah, maybe this is the classic laziness that we call Greg, but I think that I don't really care one way or the other. And I mean that not as like I've given up on life, but more of just like it's out of my control, right? I mean, yeah. I'll live my life to the fullest, the best I can, and we'll all find out at one point what's going on, whether we, one way or the other, we're going to find out.
I think you're right, though. I mean, what can you do about it anyway? Even if it does turn out to be that we have all been fooled and been duped into living this holographic existence, will we know any different? No, not really.
No, yeah. And it's funny. It just made me think of someone I worked with. He doesn't work at the agency anymore, Tim Blevins. He when we're talking about the afterlife and stuff, or do we believe in ghosts? Do we believe in afterlife? And he just looked at us and he was just like, "Do you remember what it was like before you were born?" No, exactly.
Wow.
Like, okay,
man, all right then.
A little something to that, but we all know better, and we all have our own opinions, which is awesome about that.
Yeah, and that's cool and all, and I get it. I mean, being a skeptic, I believe that there's more to it, as do you.
Yeah.
Not once have we had evidence from the great beyond saying that you guys, we're all nothing but holographs. I believe that we're made of spiritual makeups. I mean, we are individuals, and we're not part of a holograph. I mean, if you cut yourself, do you not bleed? Holographs traditionally do not bleed. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know, man.
If I cut others, will they bleed?
Well, it depends. Depends on where you cut them and how deep. Yeah. But yeah, generally speaking, if that were the truth, there would be no consequence for what we do here because it's in a video game anyway.
Right.
We just hit the reset button, man. Screwed that life up. Let's try it again.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Greg? What do you think?
I think that...
on that whole thought of, you said, like you said earlier, you're like, it doesn't really matter. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it comes out that, we are part of a holographic program. Wouldn't that really make your life feel like it was meaningless?
Yeah, but we might be turned off or whatever. It's tough to say. I mean, because you, as a people always say, do you have free will? Is your life already planned out and you're just following through from the moment you're born? I mean, it's the same sort of thing, really. Who knows for sure? I personally don't believe that we are a computer generated thing. I think that we are real living beings, but.
Yeah.
What a shock that could be.
Who knows, man? Who knows? I guess we will find out in the great beyond whether we are truly flesh and blood individuals or we've been living in the Matrix. We will find out as we move forward to this life, and when we do pass away, maybe that's the enlightenment we all seem to get when we pass on. We see what really is going on. And that could be it, too. But we got to get out of here, man. We have to run a break. We come back.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about voices or God. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If pop culture is to be believed, roughly 40% of all people are actually vampires, or dating one. Well, undead or not, you can always save on a clean, comfortable room at Motel 6, even if you sleep during the day because direct sunlight turns you into a pile of sparkly coffee grounds. Speaking of which, we have free coffee every morning. You day sleepers may want to go for the decaf. I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
Hi, I'm Kip Parker. And I'm Charlie Parker. And we're the Parker Brothers. Hey, Charlie, what's missing from our game catalog? I don't know, Kip. Tell me. Well, you can't talk to the dead. You sure as hell can. That's why we got this brand new game called Ouija. Ouija? Well, break that down for me. Well, it's Wii because you're having a great time, and G, it's because G, aren't you having a blast because you're having a good time with the Wii. It looks like it smelled like a Chinaman got caught in there. Don't question it. Well, Ouija, Kip, tell me about it. Well, inside the package comes a flat board with all the letters of the alphabet, numbers from 0 to 9, and a yes-no written out by itself. Well, that sounds like a lot of stuff going on. That's got a lot of stuff going on indeed, Charlie. It also comes with this planchette which hovers over the letters the dead are trying to tell you. Well, how does that work, Chip? Well, you ask the question, and then the dead move your hands in the direction of the answers. That sounds like a heck of a way to find Grandpa's slave money. Turns out it was in the attic. But the questions don't have to be as serious as slavery. You can also find out if Sally's got a crush on you. The dead like to answer all sorts of trivial questions. Feels like they'd have better things to do with their time, Kip. No, lost souls are lost forever, and they're really glad to help. Well, gee, Kip, can't you just get any sort of board with numbers and letters and talk to the dead? The dead prefer quality like anybody else. Quality you can only find at Parker & Parker.
The Ouija board, brought to you by the Parker Brothers, available in both white and colored walworts. Separate but equal savings.
Author Steve Asher brings us Hauntings of Trilogy. Steve's first book, Hauntings of the Kentucky State Penitentiary. This first installment of the trilogy tells us the tale of the Kentucky State Penitentiary and why it's so haunted. With every turn of the page will be something new and terrifying. Pick up Steve's new book, Hauntings of the Kentucky State Penitentiary, at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and all better bookstores everywhere.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
You're dead! I saw you die! I was faking. I used ninja focus to slow my heart rate down. What are you doing? I'm burying you. I'm alive! I'm alive! You're waking the neighbors! No. Shut up! No! Now I'm gonna play your drum set.
Welcome to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Greg Bakken. In the first
Hello.
half hour, hey, Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm all right, thank you.
How you doing, man? Hey, you're pretty cool. Even though you're a video game that we found out. Well, we're all video games.
A poor one, too, at that, I might add.
You're like that. We're both like that indie game thing, that crap you buy at Xbox Live, and you're like, oh, man, I can't believe I spent 99 cents on this piece of crap.
I'm an Atari 2600 is what the problem is over here.
You're the guy from Pitfall.
Yeah,
and I'm Qbert.
I really am.
And I'm the guy from Qbert. I'm going, what the hell am I jumping for? What's up with this? Well, tonight we're shifting gears from the normal stuff that we do. And right now, as you're listening to me, whether you listen terrestrially or online and you have your smartphone, I want you to run on over to InsideTheJournal.com. And that is the website. The author of this next book... Or not author, sorry, the author the guy knows. It's kind of weird. It's a really weird. He's the publisher. But the author is such a raw guy, man. We're going to be talking about this because it could be anybody. You know what I mean? Let's just say you sat down, Greg, and wrote down your deepest, darkest feelings.
Yep.
And someone found it. And then they turned it over to someone like our guest tonight. And really, it's such a great... I don't want to say great story, but it's a great cautionary tale inside of a story of the story of this person's life. We watch it unfold in real time. And I'm going to let Brett Skolnick tell us all about that. He is the publisher, self-publisher now. He took it upon to spend his own money to get this out there. Now, Brett, let's bring you on in. Brett, man, what you're doing is a big undertaking, number one. What's your background? I mean, are you by trade a publisher? I mean, how did you end up with this in your hands?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
So, no, I'm not a publisher by any stretch of the imagination. I met Alan's mother over a year now, and we just kind of hit it off just talking, and at that time, I had no idea, who she was, who Alan was, or anything along those lines. And then as we continued to, keep in contact, she explained to me what had happened to Alan, and she then told me about, there was a journal that was left behind, and, it was something that was pretty intriguing to me. I asked if I, could read it if, she was comfortable, and she let me go through it. And, she had always thought that maybe she wanted to, make this public. And after us going back and forth, we decided to, give it a shot. I said I would definitely help, any way I can from a funding standpoint, because I, totally believe in the journal. It's a fascinating read, and, the topics that it cover are very much near and dear to me. So I was all in, and, here we are today. And, the journal was just released at the beginning of the week. And now I'm here with you guys.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I was just going to ask because, I mean, obviously this is an extremely personal thing here. How open was his mother allowing you, A, to look at the journal, and then B, to publish it?
She was pretty open. Now, you have to realize she went to Alan's apartment. It's been over 7 years now since Alan has passed, and so she held on to this journal for probably like 3-4 years. Didn't really talk much about anything regarding what happened to Alan, and more specifically what happened to Alan inside that apartment. I mean, obviously, Alan had he had committed suicide, so like people knew that, family friends knew that, but no one really knew in depth what really had happened in that apartment. No one knew of the journal. And through support and through networks and, family and friends, she kind of came to grips and, started slowly showing people the journal. And then, so here I am, 5.5 years later, meeting her and, building our relationship. And that's kind of how I came to be able to see it, and she showed it to me. And that's, where we kind of, how we got here today.
Well, Brett, now we met you and kind of got, the ball rolling on the story. I'd like to play the actual promo now that you furnished that kind of gives everyone a kind of intro to where we're going to go on this. this may not be everyone's cup of tea. I just want to let everyone know that it does deal with suicide, and it touches a lot of people because this individual went from being a normal dude like everybody else to next thing you know, and we're going to get into that and how a lot of people, more people than you realize, could fall prey to that. Let's just play this 1-minute clip about his journal right here, right now.
911, what's your emergency?
Something's not right in my neighbor's apartment. He's been yelling at night. This has been going on for over a month. I knocked on the door to try to talk to him, but he never answers. I think someone should come over and take a look.
In my opinion, Allen was suffering from dissociative identity disorder, or paranoid schizophrenia.
This man was in direct contact with the Lord. His journal is the evidence and is as important as any found gospel.
I have no idea what happened in that apartment. What I know is this journal is unlike anything I have ever read, and probably nothing like it again. This journal takes us in his mind as he's unraveling. It's one of the most disturbing books I've ever read.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm scared. I think I need help.
Wow. That is powerful right there. That is very, very powerful. And now, Brett, I got to ask you, did you know his mother real well? And did you know, how well did you know Allen?
So, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. So I didn't know Meredith at all prior to meeting her, and I've never, ever spoken to Allen, ever. Unfortunately, by the time I had met Meredith, Allen, had been gone for about 5.5 years. So no, like I said, as our relationship grew, we continue to stay in contact. We know each other, fairly well now. And we're working on this project together to get this journal out there to the masses so everyone can kind of get a glimpse into the crazy, sad reality of what can happen to someone when they start to spiral out of control. And it's it's a really in-depth look into someone's mind, because when you're journaling, you're typically not journaling for others to see. Mm-hmm. It's really for yourself, and we're able to kind of see what was going through his mind when things were the good days, the bad days, and then as things started to spiral.
If you had mentioned this at the top, I apologize, I didn't pick up on this, but do you know how old Allen was when he started writing in the journal and how old he was when he stopped?
Sure. So from what I gathered, he started writing in journals when he was a teenager. This particular journal ended in 2010, and it's hard to tell because the way he wrote in his journals, he just kind of wrote entry 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So there was no dates ever. So based upon what was kind of going on, and he referenced, he was a Jets fan, so he referenced like the playoff run that the Jets went through about 7 years ago. So you can kind of get some timeline in there from where he was working and job. So I'd say it was about a year, maybe 18 months, but that's still one thing that you don't know because there are no dates in there.
And I get it. So it's one of many journals that he has written over his lifetime.
Yeah, it just randomly, it's just something his mother told him as a teenager. If you ever have stuff on your mind, just he has a journal. It's good release, good way to just get back and get out of reality sometimes and get whatever's off your chest. And he did that, and that was one of his way to kind of take care of himself.
Now, did you journal at all when you were a kid, Brett? when you were reading these from first hand, were you kind of like, oh, I get this because I used to journal? Did you ever do any of that kind of stuff?
I wasn't a guy who wrote in journals. I would write, song lyrics, or I'd write, just, I don't know. I don't want to say poetry because it wasn't really poetry. I'm not a poet by any means. I would write, and more or less I would probably like daydream in school or in college and just write stuff when I should have been taking notes. That's kind of what I was writing, but I was not like a journaler where like I came home, had a bad day, and got into my room and, started journaling. So no, I definitely didn't do anything like that at all. But like I said, you would have found me many days in college just writing nonsense in my notebook as opposed to taking notes. That's for sure.
Sure. And then after going through this process of reading what Allen had written down or anything, has it prompted you to be like, maybe I do want to write something because you see it and I'm sure that there is something to writing that you just kind of I'm gonna probably step on my own tongue here when I say it's going to be healing, but that's not the case at all for poor Allen.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. Unfortunately, I don't just have the time to kind of sit down and just write, and
Sure.
start journaling. But no, it definitely, of course, it was good for him. It's just unfortunately something happened in his apartment that sent him down a dark road.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he still journaled throughout it. So it helped him, it helped him kind of come to grips with what was going on in his world at that time. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was, anything that was bad for him, even though, what ended up happening to him was horrific and tragic, but it still was definitely, it was still helping him throughout, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Right, because writing the journal didn't lead him to do what he ultimately did. It was what he was writing about in it. It was like what was happening in his mind is what eventually took him to that place.
Yeah, exactly. The journaling, if anything, helped him out and try to, because you can see there's definitely some entries that are interesting that he'll talk about, that he'll read an entry that he doesn't even remember writing. He's like, I don't even know what I'm even writing half the time. I read these pages and I have no idea what it is. So it's interesting that he was writing, in whether he was in a manic state or something was just going on, he was freaked out or whatever the case may have been on that day, but then he would go back in. And again, you don't know. It could have been the next day. It could have been 2 weeks later because, again, you don't know the timeline.
Yeah,
because
he didn't
go back
date
in
him.
and he'd be like,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Allen didn't date his journal. I mean, you're right, because when I was reading the stuff that you provided for the show, that's one thing that I really noticed is the only reason why I would know dates is when Allen was talking about the football season, and I knew exactly those particular games about the time that they were going down. But other than that, there was really no date. There was no flow to it. It was just his thoughts on paper, just like anyone else would do.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. He just was putting any thought that came in, and it was, there's crazy stuff in there, though. It's not all, gloom and doom. There's some really fascinating, insight into his mind and just like some funny stuff in there, going out, getting drunk, taking drugs, and then like complaining about his boss and, regular stuff that, any average person that's dealing with the day-to-day grind of life, that they're feeling, he's just penning it. So it's pretty cool you get in that perspective because, like I was saying earlier, a journal typically you definitely don't write it for others to see it. Yeah. And typically you don't read other people's journals. So you're kind of getting all of it. So you're getting the whole, the whole ball of wax. You're seeing, his thoughts, what impacted his life, reminiscing about childhood, talking about the type of music he likes, talking about girls, talking about going out with his buddies and blacking out. So there's just all that stuff is there. And then, there's the real dark stuff that he gets into and where his mind really goes and ultimately leads him to. You get all that in there.
So is this one whole journal, or is this like part of the journal that starts kind of getting into the area where you're starting to hear the voices?
No, so this is like one whole journal.
Okay.
So like if you envision, it wasn't a mead, like a regular composition journal. It was kind of like one that had no lines. It was like almost like a leather-bound journal. So it was what is that, like 150 pages, give or take. So that's all it was. So it was one journal. I mean, as I said, there was other journals that he had written in, over the years, but it was this specific journal that when you started to read the end of the entries or middle to end of the entries, you can see something was changing. And when his mother came into the apartment and saw the way he was living over his last, however long that could have been, weeks, months, a year, she knew something happened in there. And fortunately for her, there was something there that she could read, and there was something there that she could, however horrifying it was for her, and however upset and sad and whatever range of emotion she felt, she had something, and she could kind of then get a glimpse, and now everyone can kind of get a glimpse into how he was feeling, what was going on, how everything transpired in his mind.
Sure. Now, being that you're looking at a journal for yourself, you're flipping through it, did you have to leave? Was there anything too graphic that had to be left out that you were like, okay, this cannot be published because either it's too dark or too personal or just too whatever? Did you ever get to that point, that brick wall where you're like, okay, this part we cannot share?
We thought about it, but then I just don't think it would have, if you're going to publish something like this, you don't want to cherry pick, right? You don't want to portray Allen in any light, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. So we kind of said, listen, if we're going to do it, there's some ugly parts in there. There's some stuff, that he's talking about, pleasuring himself or doing drugs or just being really, angry towards society in a way and being frustrated with social media and marketing and his stance on, organized religion. So there's definitely some, good amount of opinions in there, and, some personal stuff, but that's kind of what makes the journal, right? You want to see all of this. You want to read all of this. So for us to leave out, if we start saying, all right, we can't leave this because this is too graphic or this might upset someone, then, we're going to pull something out that might make him look like he's, just an average guy. So, it's kind of like, where's that line? So we just said, screw it, let's put it all in there. It's all out there for anyone to read. And, some of the stuff people might be like, that's disgusting, that's vulgar, why is that? Like, I don't want to read about this. And then, but, someone else might be like, wow, that's, really real. And, that's, somebody's raw feelings right there. That's someone just being themselves like you would anticipate on a journal that is meant for just yourself.
How soon do you get into the journal when you start realizing, as far as from, listen, kind of reading into Allen's thoughts, that something isn't quite right here?
No, I mean, it's not right off the bat. I mean, it's definitely within the first few entries, you do see that, he has opinions, but, I'd say halfway through, something starts happening, but it's interesting because, again, if you or I or anyone started hearing a voice, and in this case it was just his name, you don't really think you're hearing a voice. You're going to do everything in your power to say that I'm not hearing this. So he did what, maybe it's the pipes, maybe it's the radio frequency from the neighbor or the TV, or maybe it's the wind, or, maybe it's something else. So he kind of goes into that. So he's still, for him, he's pretty pessimistic and pretty much thinking that there's nothing really going on other than there's some sort of weird noise going on, not necessarily in his apartment, but in the complex. And then midway through it, he starts to change, and then he starts to get pretty low, and, he starts to, like I said, starts going into some pretty dark places inside of his mind that he, kind of just pens out into his journal.
Yeah, what did you find, though, the most intriguing part about Allen as a person when you're thumbing through this for the first time? Anything stand out to you?
He's opinionated. That's for sure. He's definitely opinionated. it just, it's interesting because I didn't journal growing up. As I said, daydream, wrote nonsense in, notebooks, but I never really sat down and just journaled. So for me to read someone's journal is just really, for however, sad it was, and, he gets, like I said, pretty dark. It was refreshing to see someone be so open and be so comfortable with themselves to just kind of write what they were feeling. So it's just it's real, man. It's real,
raw.
and
Yeah.
you can just feel it through the pages.
Something that came to mind, and we have about 5 minutes before we go on to break. The thing is that you're reading about, stuff that Allen is going through. Did you have to do research on any of the concepts of what was happening to him so you could understand what he was going through better?
Somewhat, yeah. So here's the whole thing about the journal. So it's voices or God, right? So
right,
and it's a question. Voices or God. So was Allen hearing voices, or did God actually speak to him? And I would say 99% of people say he was hearing voices. Something was going on. He was having, some sort of mental break, or there was something was definitely going on with his mental health. But that's the whole spin, because Allen talks, a lot, writes a lot about, no one would ever believe me. That's, he always said, no one ever believed me. No one, people would think he was insane. People would, think his family, had issues, and he was always hammering through that point, and that led him to, not want to speak to anyone about it. So, I did do some research about, different, various mental health, issues and causes and symptoms, and how to, really try to pinpoint what may or may not have been happening. But if you read it from his, as if you were him, he's saying, no, this isn't, I know what's going on. I am hearing a voice. This isn't, my conscience. This isn't, an echo or anything along those lines. This is, a voice, and this is God talking to me, because he's not using it. He writes a little bit about hearing a different language, and when he Googles what the language is, it's it's Arabic or it's Hebrew. He's not quite sure, but it's something along those lines, and it's just kind of isn't that's the whole thing for him? That was the whole issue, and that is why he never sought out any type of help, is because no one would have believed him. So it's such. I mean, it's tough, man. Just reading that stuff.
It is tough because you take a walk into the mind of a maddening mind. I mean, because it starts to be as mundane pretty much as anyone else's life, and then it starts to take that slow but steady turn. You could see even in his own demeanor, and his writing style even changed as it went further. And that's something, is very noticeable. And I didn't notice any remark about mental illness or pain or hear anything until about in the 30s for journal entries. So, I mean, it took a little while because, he talked a lot about other things. And then that kind of, in my opinion, just festered more than anything else. And it just kind of slowly cannibalized him in some ways. He cannibalized his own mind in a lot of ways. That's what, if Dr. Cole were here, our forensic psychologist from the Wednesday show, she would say it's a cannibalistic mind. It's cannibalizing itself. And that being said, we need to actually run a break. But one thing we have to let you know, we are invading the UK, Paranormal UK Radio. We are over there right now. Hello, UK. We love you. But we are going to invade. We're invading right now over at the UK, opening that up to a whole new audience. First time this show has ever been in the UK, as well as we are on our latest acquisition. I shouldn't say acquisition, affiliate, because, we love them. K-Core in Las Vegas, Nevada. You're shooting us out there as well. So, hey, put a bet on black or whatever you want to do. But if you win, you got to share it with us. That being said, we got to run a break. When we come back, we'll be right back with more, God or voices. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
It's your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At ACE, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at ACE, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. ACE,
the helpful place.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
And welcome back to After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me, as always, my intrepid co-host, Greg Bach. And then, of course, we are talking all things, voices or God, with Brett Skolnick. And he is the publisher of what we can only call is a jump into the mind of madness, as we have been talking about Allen Kerrigan's own words towards the end of his young life. And that, of course, we'll talk further about. But, Greg, I know you got a hell of a question come out of the gate. So.
Well, and welcome back, Brett. The thing that I was curious about is what got you interested in actually publishing this journal of somebody else's thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. That's, again, another awesome question. So, growing up, watched tons of history, documentaries, or just anything I could watch in regards to ghosts, UFOs, alien conspiracies, all that stuff. And one of the things that I always found interesting was people that either saw a UFO, abducted by an alien, saw a ghost. And when you're listening to an interview or they're doing a reenactment or whatever it is, I always think about that actual person. So what happens? Someone is up in New Hampshire, Montana, and they see, or they're in Roswell, and they see a UFO, or they're abducted, or somebody's at some old bed and breakfast and they see a ghost. So that person, that's 100% real. There's no swaying that person off of that actually happening. To them, it happened. Most people would say, it didn't happen. There's, some sort of scientific reason, or, you must have been dreaming, or whatever the case may be. But that person, that's it. I mean, that happened. They saw that ghost. They saw that UFO. So what happens to that person? Where do they go in life? And I'm sure as they express these, these encounters or whatever happened to them to other people, most people, I don't know if they're supportive or not supportive, but they might kind of shy away, and then eventually, that person's, circle gets smaller and smaller. I'm sure they get, more and more isolated. And, before social media and all the different types of groups, I'm sure it was even more difficult to network with people who've had like experiences. Now I'm sure it's a little bit easier, but it's still, so, it's got to be crazy to have something like that happen, and you can't, tell that person that it didn't happen. So now, you take it to the next level, and here I have an opportunity to work with this family whose son, believed he heard the voice of God. And like that's just beyond alien, beyond ghosts. This is an encounter with God. God spoke to him. It's not there's no dialogue back and forth. It's not like he's speaking to God and God's telling him to go do something and saying, he's his son or anything, like that. It's just like he's hearing a voice and he has determined that it is God, and there's no way he would have ever been able to been told otherwise. And, just kind of reading that and seeing that really captivated me, because I kind of spun it back to, all right, here it is. This is that same person that, had an encounter with a ghost, but now he had an encounter with God, and what would have happened with his life. And, as you can read throughout the journal, you see firsthand what happened to his life and what it did to him. And, it made him so self-conscious, and it made him to withdraw from society. And it was just so fascinating, because it's something that I had thought about before, when I've watched those documentaries or those reenactment shows, and it was just like right here in front of me, and I was like, I need to get involved with this. And, and beyond that, the topics that it covers between mental health and suicide, and, that being something, mental health awareness and suicide prevention being, big to me and my family as well. It was definitely something that I was like, I got to get involved in this any way I can, because I think it's just a fascinating piece of work that is out there for people to read now.
And are you saying that that when people have their paranormal experiences, or they might see a UFO, that they might have more of support from other people, but poor Allen, he didn't really have that, and it seemed like he never felt comfortable talking to anybody about anything that was going on.
Right. So from Allen's standpoint, he definitely didn't, because he never did. I mean, it's evident by the journal.
Yeah.
But what I was kind of alluding to was, I don't know how much support someone does get, that has an encounter with a UFO or a ghost, and and I could be completely wrong, but I would have to think that a lot of people don't believe them, and people kind of look at them a little bit different than they would have if they never really said anything. So it's got to be extremely courageous for someone to be confident in themselves and confident in what happened and what they saw to even speak to someone about it. Unfortunately for Allen, though, he wasn't confident, because this wasn't a UFO, this wasn't a ghost, he was thinking God spoke to him, and again, it wasn't telling him anything crazy. It was just like saying his name, and then kind of saying a couple other things about who was talking to him, and that's what was going on in his world.
Well, do you believe that his father, passive cancer, left an indelible mark on Allen? And do you think that contributed to his decline further down the road? Do you think there was some guilt involved, and maybe some remorse of maybe how their relationship was?
Could be, right? You lose a parent to cancer. It can impact you in different ways, and the way he saw his father struggle through the end, and the depression he went through that he writes about, it definitely can impact him. And he also had a pretty lengthy entry regarding 9/11 too. So there are definitely some factors in there that could have done something, to him in some way, shape, or form. But again, it's all speculation, right? Because you have no idea. There's no way of knowing. It's just it may have, right?
Just a quick comment. I lost my own father to cancer, and I walked with him the hard walk from the beginning to the end. Now that left a big mark on me. It left a lot of unanswered questions, and it made me question a lot of things. I actually at one point gave up radio because I didn't want to talk to anyone anymore. I was so drawn into myself and in my own depression. And of course, anyone that loses a parent, it's hard. It is just so darn hard. Greg, you know that as well. You've lost your dad, and so we both have lost family. And I'm sure that It's
not something you take lightly. That's for sure.
Brett, I'm sure you've lost family members that you're close with, and of course that drug you to some. You can't help it, but drug you to some point to where you're questioning yourself and maybe your own sanity. I think that's normal thinking as part of the human condition. But I want to say, reading the journal, Allen went. I think there's a lot of. He doesn't talk about it in his journal, but I would almost be willing to bet that there's a history of mental illness somewhere in that family. You just don't develop schizophrenia or anything else just out of nowhere. It's not like it's something you caught on the subway. Generally speaking, a lot of times, again, if Dr. Cole were here, she'd be saying it's a genetic link. Now, did his mother at all ever speak to you about the possibility of a genetic link to mental illness being in the family?
No. She really. So here's the unfortunate thing. For as much as we've been involved in getting this journal up, there's still some things that people aren't necessarily forthcoming with. And I think when you get into mental health and, whether it was that was what was going on with Allen and if it's his genetics and, stuff along those lines, people still kind of shy away from that, which is unfortunate. So I don't know. She's really not too forthcoming with that type of information. Other than she can be anxious. She's dealt with depression, and some people have. But from like whether someone has schizophrenia or like a DID or anything along those lines, definitely have no way of knowing at all, and it's not something that she's really, expressed.
Yeah,
any
she hasn't made
really
you
going into any details.
Yeah, she hasn't made you privy to it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I just real quick, you had mentioned about your father. My father as well passed from cancer. So
Oof,
yeah, 100% could relate as well. Makes you question a lot of things. Fairness of life, and my father was fairly young. I passed 72, so and you reminisce about what he did for my family.
Sure.
For sure, working 70 hours a week in the car industry. So I give my life is for him. Without him, I wouldn't be where I am today. So that for me, 100% resonated. I'm sure it did with you, as you had explained. So yeah, I mean, stuff like that, those intimate details and those little peeks inside of Allen, inside the journal, that is the stuff. When you guys asked earlier, what did I think? That's the stuff that like really, really resonated because it was so relatable and just stuff that I've dealt with, and I'm sure there's stuff in there that I couldn't relate to, but someone else will relate to that because it's something I think that everyone will pick up on and be like, yeah, I know where he's coming from.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Joel.
I was just about to say, very well said, and anyone that's done that walk, of course, is hard. And go ahead, Greg.
I'm just going to say that I did get in a remark from somebody who it was kind of agreeing, Brett, with what you're saying about the whole idea of the when you see a ghost, or if you have intuitive gifts or anything like that people may, like, especially if you're younger, people are going to be like, you're crazy, you're not doing it, or you're just making it up, you're just trying to get attention, that sort of thing. And so the remark we got was basically she pushed her gifts away because of that sort of thing. So in a way I can, I'm getting a better picture of what Allen probably was going through in the pain that he was experiencing. I'm starting to get it a little bit more now.
Yeah, and that's sad, to even hear that someone, pushed their gifts away but it's that, that pressure from society and how to be and how to act and what you can talk about, and the stigma behind mental health, or if someone believes that they can have some sort of sense for paranormal or anything along those lines, like to not feel comfortable enough because you're worried about what others are going to think, or even beyond that, it doesn't even matter what others are going to think, what they're going to do. Like there's a lot of cruel people out there, and if they can find something that isn't the norm, they're going to people can be pretty cruel, and so it's sad hearing that, and I can only envision what Allen was going through as well.
Yeah. Oh, no, right there with you. Now, what was it like in his apartment, and what do you think his true diagnosis was? Looking back now, having the full scope of who he was.
Man, so the apartment was grim. I mean, it was, from what his mother has explained, dirty, filthy, it smelled, smoke, spoiled food. Towards the end, writing on the walls, broken glasses, mirrors and stuff along those lines. It was someone that was basically living in squalor, but wasn't, right, because he had still had his apartment. But it was no way a place where you would want, a loved one, or it doesn't even need to be a loved one, anyone. You wouldn't want anyone living like that. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what his diagnosis was, and I'd hate to say he did. He did have something, because that's the whole thing. That's the whole point about all of this is, to him, he thought he spoke to God. So why? Yeah. I don't want to sit here and say he didn't. I have no idea.
Yeah, none of us
never
know.
have.
Yeah, none of us know for sure, but. I'd be willing to put money. If anyone listening over there at KCOR, go ahead, put money on that he was not. I mean, personally, I want to say he was more mentally ill, but I don't know for sure. We don't know that. Put a bet on it, but who knows? Who truly knows? Now, one thing that we had mentioned before you came on air is that you're really passionate about mental health awareness and recovery. And suicide prevention. Why don't we talk about where some of these proceeds are going as well from the sale of this journal, Allen's journal?
Yeah, so a percentage of the proceeds we're going to donate to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP. When we decided to publish the journal, we wanted to make sure a few things we were covering. We wanted to make sure people were seeing the journal for what it was. We didn't, like we had talked about at the beginning, did we remove any entries because they might have been too graphic or too detailed? Absolutely not. So we wanted to be, this is what it is. So even on the website, insidethejournal.com, we say unedited, so you're going to see, grammatical errors. You're going to see run-on sentences. This isn't this well-written masterpiece. This is someone's journal that we are publishing, pretty much. And then we also want to make sure we're raising awareness, for individuals that may have struggles with their mental health. And, it's just such a big part of society, and so many people struggle with this these days, but at the same time, people don't talk about it nearly as much as they should. And people are, more and more people are slowly, but at the same time, it's not enough, and there's so much support out there, and the wonderful charities out there that are doing great things, and there's, people that are struggling, there's go out there and, hopefully just talk to someone. Really, just a conversation can help, and, donating to suicide prevention, we wanted to just, give back something, to, a foundation that is helping support people that even if, you're just, again, getting on the phone with someone, talking through something, getting on a website, support groups, because, I've lost friends, I lost relatives that have committed suicide, and, there's alternative, there's different choices out there, and, that doesn't have to be your only choice. And unfortunately for Allen, that was his only choice, and that's what he convinced himself. And I think that's the biggest thing. He convinced himself that necessarily wouldn't have been true. Now, would it have been hard for him? 100%. If he goes to someone and says, hey, I'm here and God speak to me, and he 100% believes God is speaking to him, he's going to have a tough road in front of him.
Yeah.
But he, there would have been support there. There would have been family there. There would have been, places he could go and talk to, and maybe figure it out and try to get, the necessary support and help he needed, and he would still be here. But, unfortunately, he didn't choose that route.
Are you more hoping that Allen's words will be more of, let me word this correctly, are you hoping that the words out there that Allen wrote in this journal will be read by people that are struggling with mental health and maybe be that thing that makes them realize that, hey, maybe I need help? Are you hoping that's that kind of a little bit of a wake-up call?
Yeah, obviously you would want that 100%, and if it does do that, that's awesome. Yeah, 100%. But more what I want is for somebody who doesn't even consider mental health and people having issues with mental health as something that, people use, oh, that's just an excuse, or that's a crutch, or they don't believe in it, or it's just something that maybe they're not even fully aware of because it doesn't impact them, or hasn't impacted a family member. I can't imagine there's not too many people that doesn't know someone that battles with depression or anxiety, but someone that has schizophrenic or something along those lines. Like, if they don't know anyone, maybe they can't relate. So I'm just hoping that people that maybe don't understand or maybe aren't seeing it at least can become more aware and understand. When you're seeing someone, I live right outside of Boston, so I see it in Boston and in the city that I live in as well. There's a lot of people that are struggling, and instead of looking at them and judging them, just know that person's hurting, that person's struggling, and how can you help out? Maybe you don't go up and approach them and help them, but
sure.
There's definitely charities out there. There's definitely different places you can go to help out and maybe help those people and get them back and get them in a position to build back up their life. So that's kind of absolutely, if someone reads this and they said, well, I'm struggling, I can relate, this isn't the path I want to go down, 100%, and if it's a one person, 100 people, 1,000 people, that's fascinating, and that's awesome. Would love that to happen.
Yeah.
But really just the people that can't relate, maybe they can relate to this, maybe they can pull from the sea, how real this is to somebody, and just be more, compassionate, right?
Yeah.
Just be, more compassionate to each other, and people are struggling because this is real. This happens, and people are struggling all the time. Right now, there are people listening that are struggling, and, and they could be a neighbor, they could be a friend, they could be a relative, they could be a complete stranger, but,
Sure.
we're just all people trying to get by.
Have a little more compassion for your fellow man. And
absolutely.
and understand that life is a struggle, and we're all living that struggle. And and I think destigmatizing mental health have come a long way, but there's still a long way to go before it's truly viewed upon as a mental health, as a health issue. I think we got a little bit further yet to go, but I think we're moving in that correct direction. Now, Voices Are God is the book. You guys can get that over there at, excuse me for clearing my throat quick. Sorry about that, guys. You guys can get that over there at Amazon.com. There's also Inside the Journal, www.insidethejournal.com. There is also a video teaser that we played the audio from for the show, and you can order the book. You can the book patch will have it as well, and the print version is available there. The e-version is available at Amazon as well as the physical copy. So go on over there, get your copy of this book, Voices Are God. It was a trip in a lot of ways, but more of a trip into the mind of a decaying brain in some ways, of somebody truly getting to that point of confusion, getting to that point where they did not know where to turn. It was very sobering reading someone's writings about going from the normal, I'm going to assume he would have been a millennial age, going from a millennial thinking about girls, booze, and occasional marijuana pot, doing the normal things that young people do. I shouldn't say. I mean, that really made me sound old. Yeah, those damn kids. That's what they all do, But but the normal stuff that you would consider to be done, to somebody questioning their own sanity as they move forward, and they're in a lot of ways their own religious view, because now he in the journal had to force himself to consider God, because earlier in that journal he railed against religion. So it was also a lot of soul searching going on. Now we got about 5 minutes left, Brett. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we go? Just kind of throw in there anything else.
No, I mean, just kind of everything that we have been talking about. It's just fascinating. I would just say anyone that's listened to it, to this interview right now, hop on and just go out there and grab the journal. I mean, like we said, the proceeds we're donating, percentage of the proceeds we are donating away to a great charity that's helping people, deal with suicide and suicide prevention. But it's just it's a really interesting journal, and it's just something that I haven't seen. I know we talked about. I don't think you guys have read anything like it, and it's just it's fascinating. I mean, once I read it for the first time, I was all in on it, and I'm just hoping other people feel the way I feel and the way you guys feel, and so many other people already who I've been speaking to over the last week or so. It's been crazy just talking to people who have really, it's resonated with people. So, and then, one thing you had mentioned, it's on Amazon, and some people, you can get it on the Kindle version, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a Kindle. I know some people have said, well, I don't have a Kindle, I can't get it off of Amazon. You can just download the Kindle app, read it on your your smartphone or any tablet. It doesn't matter, on your PC or Mac, whatever. So you don't necessarily need that. And the soft cover. The one thing about the soft cover journal that is a little bit different than the Kindle version, the digital version, is the fonts. So the handwritten actual writing of Allen. We try to get it as exact as it was within the actual journal. So you can really see that on the paperback version.
How painstaking was that to transfer his writing to a digital media from a journal? Was that technologically very hard to do, or was it something that they, the publisher, the people you're working with to get this out there? When you decide to publish this yourself, because you are self-published, your money's going up to publish this thing. And that's something I also want to let people know, that, you don't have any financial backers here, man. This came out of your wallet to get this thing out there. So that's another thing I want to let people know. But were they able to take that handwriting and leave its character intact? Does it look like very close to what he wrote?
Yeah, pretty close. So what we did is we went out and tried to find fonts that look like it. So again, you're never going to duplicate someone's exact writing,
right.
But it's pretty close. Right? It's pretty close, and it's pretty remarkable what you can do with technology. But the unfortunate thing is with the e-doc, the e-version of it, it doesn't, it didn't take the fonts. The fonts, you couldn't embed them, so it couldn't come over that way. So it's just in like the regular, Arial font. So it loses a little bit of that luster of the actual writing. But regardless, you guys had read the Kindle version of it, and it's still fascinating. I mean, it's not going to take away from the actual writing at all. But, if somebody really wanted to really see it from like within his writing, I would definitely say take a look at the paperback. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. How can people get a hold of you, Brett? If people have any further questions, are you open to that at all?
Yeah, definitely. You can reach out to us inside thejournal.com. You can contact us over there. We're always interested into talking to anyone that had any questions.
Yeah, definitely. If you hey, buy the book, leave a review. Leave a review. Let them know. Let Brett know what you thought about his first go around in publishing books, and give him a hand. Again, a portion of the proceeds will be going to suicide awareness, and mental health recovery. So that's a noble cause. We support that. We got to get out of here. We're going to come back with more news coming right at you here in just a minute. Again, everybody, that is Brett Skolnick over there at InsideTheJournal.com. Check it out. Buy the book. And we'll be right back right after this. You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
In 1999, The Exorcist was voted the scariest movie of all time.
Your daughter doesn't say she's a demon. She says she's the devil himself.
Entertainment Weekly calls it the most viscerally harrowing movie ever made.
That thing upstairs isn't my daughter.
The most electrifying movie of the 20th century is now coming back to theaters.
Where's Reagan?
In here with us.
Author William Peter Blatty and director William Friedkin have created an expanded, thrilling new version of The Exorcist with footage that has never been seen before.
She needs a priest.
Don't miss The Exorcist in the version you've never seen. Possessing theaters everywhere. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
You're listening to After Hours AM Deeper Cuts.
Cutting deep into what skews.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me, as always, my intrepid and awesome and kind of on the beautiful side co-host, Greg Bach. And we're coming right back at you with more of the headlines you love. Interesting stuff with Brett Skolnick. He's the publisher of Voices or God. And we talked all about that trip of Allen into mental illness. Or was he talking to God? We don't know. You have to buy the book. But, man.
It was an incredible conversation. You know, Joel, the one thing I kept thinking the whole time, and the stuff that you've known and picked up through the years of doing the criminal code on Wednesdays is very impressive. But all the time I kept thinking to myself, well, what would happen if we could have Dr. Clarissa Cole on to also be able to talk with Brett about what happened with Allen? I bet she would find that so fascinating also.
Yeah, I think she'd really flesh that out and give us a better explanation of what she thought was going on in the apartment.
I think she'd really get down to it.
Yeah, going into that realm of madness. And so maybe later on at some point we could have Brett back on with Dr. Cole and really kind of maybe get her view on how somebody goes from a normal, average, everyday functioning individual to believing that they're either going insane or hearing God, one of those two.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be very interesting. I'd be willing to do that, man. I'd be down to do that.
That would be fun to hear, because it just, like you said, fleshed it out a little bit more, get to more stuff, because there's only so much that I know about this sort of thing, but to really kind of get into it more, I mean, it's so fascinating. The whole thing and fascinating might not be the most correct terminology for it, considering what ultimately happened, but at the same time it's a real insight into to at least for one person what happened.
Well, it's funny we mentioned Dr. Cole. She'll be on the air tomorrow night with we'll be talking criminal code over there, true crime stuff, and our guest tomorrow night will be Nadia Fezzani. There we go. I got it. It's one of those really long Italian, I'm assuming, names. Beautiful name. Beautiful name, but it's hard to pronounce once in a while off the tongue. And she'll be coming on, of course, talking about myself, Eric, and Dr. Cole. So you're not going to want to miss that. 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here where the channel you're hearing us now, man. Same cool channel, same different cool time. That being said,
can I quickly also say who we have coming up
next
Tuesday, because this is pretty cool also. that we're getting, and you made me think of it because you're talking about the cool Italian name. Next week on Tuesday, or a week from whenever you're listening, we're going to have on from Ghost Hunters. We're going to have Sherry DeBenedetti on.
Really? Very cool.
Yep.
That's going to be cool.
That's going to be fun. Yeah.
Never had an opportunity to talk with her. I've always wanted to. She's always been on the list. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, before you know it, we will be at Paracon, my friend. That's coming right up here, too. We haven't mentioned that at all yet.
Nope. That's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully we get to talk to not even just the people who are the names, but everyone. Like talking to everyone, hearing their ghost stories, hearing what's going on. That's going to be the fun part.
Yeah, we want to talk to you. That's it. We want to talk to you guys. Come on, come to our booth, hang out with us, be one with us. We will make you feel uncomfortable. Don't not worry.
Bring sandwiches.
Tuna fish sandwiches. Greg is a cat man, and so at least if he doesn't eat it, he can bring it home. You see what I'm going with that?
3 days later, yeah. Here you go, Linus. Enjoy.
Okay, man. I know you got more of the cool headlines on tap. So where are you taking us now?
Well, when I said that I go to the places for these headlines, right?
Yes.
Serious here now.
I know you are.
I went to Roswell for this one. Because did you know that Roswell is known? It's like there's some kind of UFO connection with Roswell. I mean, I just found this out. This is kind of interesting. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this before.
Okay, I'm waiting. Go ahead. All right.
No, it's just the fact that UFOs are synonymous with Roswell.
Oh, I think you're breaking new ground right here. I would not have guessed that Roswell, New Mexico, the granddaddy of them all when it comes to UFO sightings and possible crash landings and dissecting alien beings and having civilians look at them. Yeah, no one would have ever put that together. You're right.
Exactly. So aliens from Roswell being kept in underground tunnels at secretive U.S. base, says ex-worker. Now, I don't think claims like this has also ever been made before either.
No,
so this is all...
only about 10 other people showed up going, hey, by the way, that Area 51, there's some weird things going on over there.
Aliens are being kept at a military base in Ohio, U.S. according
to...
Ohio? I mean, that's yeah.
Why Ohio?
So according to one former employee who worked there for almost 40 years, Raymond Szymanski, an ex-engineer in the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, says that aliens from the infamous Roswell incident in 1947 were transported from the alleged crash site in New Mexico to Dayton, Ohio, and will be actually brought into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. No, we didn't say that.
Dun, dun, dun! They're being inducted.
Actually, I was going to say Dayton, Ohio. It's actually Canton, Ohio. That's the NFL.
Yes,
Hall of
it
Fame,
is.
Right?
It is. Now starting at 52, nose tackle, alien guy.
Mr. Szymanski has revealed the secrets of the base in his new book, 50 Shades of Grays.
No. I love me some gray. I don't always go gray, but when I do, it's 50 Shades of the alien gray.
And and that's the title that will make you take the whole topic seriously.
It
so
will.
That's good.
That really grabbed my interest for a lot of reasons. And number one is because I'm a very serious researcher into the UFO phenomena.
Right. And he is believed to be the first person to blow the whistle on aliens at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He's like taking a page from my book. The engineer turned alien hunter says that he was first made aware of aliens at UFOs by his mentor, who he has named
Spock.
You can call me Al. It's,
E.T., he had this affinity for C&Cs. Couldn't shut up about that damn thing. I gave him a cell phone. He yelled and bitched about calling home. E.T., go home? E.T., fine, here. Better not be international.
He says that Al showed him a series of tunnels and vaults beneath the surface, which was both a home and burial site to ETs. Mr. Szymanski said Al said that in 1947 there was a crash down in Roswell, and they brought the machines and aliens here for inspections and said they keep them in secret tunnels under the base.
Wow.
When I asked, yeah, I know, right? When I asked him how he came about the secret, he responded, "Everybody who works in the base knows." Following the discussion with Al, Mr. Szymanski decided to carry out research into the secret UFO and extraterrestrial activity at the base, where he had worked for 39 years. He said, "For the next 4 decades, I had dozens, if not hundreds, of brief conversations regarding the secret I'd been given during my first week on the base."
Huh.
Yeah. The important fact established here is that not one single person at the time ever said, "We have no aliens here, you crazy son of a..." Well,
This is a family show.
There's no reason for that sort of language on radio.
I'm so angry. Let me tell you.
I saw lots of smiles, but no denials. Kind of rhymes.
I know that in my love life before I was married.
I've been basically investigating locations on the base that I think could continue clues to its history relative to extraterrestrials and UFOs ever since. So by looking at the evidence, which I document in the book that you have to buy, in text and photographs, it would appear to me as if the stories are true. The author of 50 Shades of Greys claims to have seen secret tunnels which home the Greys, as he calls the aliens, because no one else calls them that. But not the extraterrestrial beings themselves.
Oh, okay then.
You just seen the tunnels.
Yeah.
Mr. Szymanski believes that the tunnels are state-of-the-art climate-controlled facilities and deep underground cryogenic chambers, which are catered to alien needs. The reason the publics have not been made. Sorry, if I could speak like somebody who could read. The reason the public has not been made aware of extraterrestrial beings, however, is simply because they're not ready. Joel, you're not ready.
I'm not ready, man. I can tell you right now, I'm just not ready. I mean, there's a few things about aliens that scare me. Number one, I don't want to be abducted, all right? I don't want to be on the milk carton. I don't want to be, because no one ever looks for a radio host. Let's just be honest. We go missing all the time. Who cares? That probing that they do, and you know where I'm talking about, where they probe. That I live in fear of that.
It doesn't matter, you're a hologram anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
That is
what
true.
You think or feel.
We may be their hologram, but maybe they're the ones putting it out there.
That we're like some sort of like simulation, like for maybe some sort of invasion or something. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Hey, yeah, I'm still thinking about that whole thing. I was, and just to add my own quick headline, we were at the Palmer recently, and everyone that was there, and thank you again if you did show up. Greg and I gave a talk on EVP. Well, more me. Greg hit the button to change over the slides, but he was part of it. What did we talk about, Greg? The animals can see and hear spirits was our theory, and both of us share that theory. Well, now someone finally shows up from awarenessact.com saying, indeed, cats and dogs can see spirits and frequencies that humans cannot hear. So, there. I just want to break that news. Hey, maybe we already said that a few times on the show. Like, lots. Like, all the time. Like, you're not doing anything cool. Breaking that news.
Well, I mean, how many times do you have pets, Joel?
I do. I have a cat and I have a dog. I do.
And how many times, especially in your abode, that you just see one of your pets just kind of stare off and they're watching something that you can't see?
Well, my dog especially, my cat is a lot like cats. All cats, they just take off running for no good reason, and they forget why they ran, and they sit there like looking at the stars going, why am I in this room, and how did I get here? You know how cats can be. And but yes, you're right. And my Chihuahua, and he has hearing. I have never met a dog, and little dogs, people say this all the time to me, they have the best hearing. I don't know if it's those little radar ears that are always perked up or what it is, but he can hear a mouse fart at 50 paces. I'm telling you, this dog can hear. And so sometimes he'll be looking directly at the steps, like he's waiting for someone to come down those steps. Like he's hearing something I'm not, and he's reacting to it.
Sure.
So I could definitely give some, all joking aside about breaking this, we were not the ones to break this. That has been theorized for years, that animals have this ability to do this. And now they're finally, some people in some circles are taking that more seriously, that they may have the ability to perceive into a different dimension than we even can through their senses, and they're mainly through their hearing.
I've had one of the most incredible situations like this a number of years ago, because I currently have two cats. One's a Maine Coon named Linus, and the other is a little black and white thing named AJ. And before Linus, I had another Maine Coon that I named Dave. And what happened was Dave had passed away. And I don't know if this is even anything related to Dave, but there was one night, AJ started looking upwards, not like straight up, but just in the distance and something. And you know when a cat or a dog or any animal really sees, like if it's like a bug or something like that, their pupils will get super big.
Sure.
And, they're going to be This was not the case with AJ. It almost looked like almost a bit of a trance, and almost like she was smiling. There was something there, and her head was lightly following it around, just enjoying it. And I looked, there is nothing there. Sure. I took a picture of her, like of her head and her face, because the look on her face I've never seen before. And it almost was like someone was talking to her. And there's stuff in my house. There's no doubt about it. There's spirits of some kind. And she was loving it. She was absolutely loving it, and I will never forget that. It was such a calming, peaceful experience for her, that the way that she was looking, but she was following something, and it was wonderful for her. It was great.
That's a great story, Greg, because I have seen similar things in animals. I've taken animals on investigations, taken them to safe areas, not like these creepy places where they're going to hurt themselves, but just kind of watch them react to the environment. And I've seen some strange things. One dog, my dad's dog, for instance, when he passed away, he has a Jack Russell Terrier. And him and this dog were just inseparable. I mean, you saw one, you saw them both. And in fact, when he passed away, there was a lot of more. This dog mourned for a long time at the pass of his owner. But it was weird because there's a certain way he would act when my dad would be around. Apart from any other way he'd act for anyone else. He'd wag his tail and do all the things, that an animal does when its owner's there. Someone that they truly love. Well, once in a while, he'll be, my dad had his favorite chair. Once in a while, he'll be up on that chair doing that exact motion. And makes you wonder if he's just not stopping in once in a while and checking his dog.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you've taken like your dog on investigations or anything, have you ever noticed a correlation when you're doing recording for EVPs of your dog reacting to something, and then when you listen back that perhaps that when you realize that when your dog was reacting that that's when you captured an EVP, they might have heard it?
Yeah, I've done that, and I've got some really good results doing that. Like, I'd wait till I would not cue him up at all to make him, react to anything. Because if I cue him up, he's just be happy and do his thing. I let him really just kind of hang out in the environment. And when I saw him react to something, I would be close to him and I would just hit the recorder. And a few of them were actually, talking with him through EVP form. Like, oh, look at the dog. Oh, what a good boy. Stuff like that you normally hear out of people. And he was reacting to all that kind of stuff. So you're absolutely correct. There is some correlation, or a lot of correlation, between animals' perception and our perception, and being able to perceive the spirits, because it is more in the line of what they can perceive versus us. Because my God, like we said during our talk, we're damn near deaf compared to our dogs. I mean, we're sitting at 24 hertz. I mean, we're really deaf. Our dog's sitting there at 50,000 hertz, and he can hear anything pretty much. And so, really, again, this article is nothing groundbreaking, but it is a cool study that somebody actually did a real study on this. The University of London, in fact, did the study. And so at least they're moving in that direction to take it a little more seriously, that this could be the fact.
I have another animal-related story, which I find very interesting, and it's kind of a different vibe to it. So before Minnesota Ghost Box started doing web series and started doing anything else, before Nicole joined, I was kind of doing my own thing, and I went with a friend down to Strawberry Point, Iowa, because there is a hotel down there that we went actually for fishing, but we also thought we might try out the Spirit Box down there and all that stuff. And while we're at the bar, which it was rare for me to go to one of these establishments, when I was at the bar, we met a woman named Shannon, who was just like, once they found out in the bar that we're going for that we're doing paranormal stuff, everyone, that word just really got around very quickly. And across the bar, she's just like, she was drunk. The woman Shannon, she's a wonderful woman, but she had a few drinks, and she's just like, you don't know what haunted is unless you came to my house, because it's haunted and all this stuff. Long story short, we go to her house, and we do an investigation there. And the whole night, I mean, it was incredible. Just her house is incredible. The stuff is there. That was incredible. But we're upstairs, it's like a loft, and the dogs are barking the whole night. And there's no one in the house. We're all upstairs. And we're doing a Spirit Box session, and all of a sudden, Freddie, my friend next to me, he's just like, I hear voices, and I have this on audio. It's on www.mn-ghostbox.org. That's our website.
Absolutely, check it out.
And so I stopped the Spirit Box, and I hear voices, and I say, I hear voices, and he's like, I hear voices, and you hear the dogs bark from downstairs, and you hear somebody muffled responses number of times down there with them, like talking to the dogs, and the dogs are reacting. And the best part of it, that part is amazing. That part is absolutely amazing. But the best part of it is Shannon, who the whole night is just like, yeah, you don't know. She's just like, hello? Going down to this downstairs. Hello? She's so scared because it's like you can hear voices.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is incredible, and I got it, and I'm happy with the audio, like that clip. I listen to it, I'm like, this is what I heard, and there's something really, really pretty incredible about that. That was a fun trip.
No, you're lucky, because when drunk people come to me going, you ain't seen a haunted till you been to my house. Generally speaking, that involves two things: stripper poles or jumper cables. I'm just saying, things go sideways quick normally when you follow those paths, and you get there and they're like, yeah, I'm haunted already, baby. Watch me spin on the pole.
Well, she was rightly so nervous of Freddie and I, because she didn't know us from anything, and she brought her friend over, and we figured it out and stuff, but we couldn't go right to her place because she's just like, we're missing something. And I'm like, what's that? She's like, Busch Light. Oh, God. And I'm not saying, oh, God, because I'm not, we shouldn't be drinking. It's more like,
it's Busch Light. Exactly. Come on, at least a Lonely Blonde or two, or even some Nor'easters.
I get drunk. I get more drunk off of water than I do Busch Light. You know, I mean, it's just and that was like the official drink. It felt like of Iowa.
Oh,
they
love their Busch down there. They really do. They love their water bush, cold bush, old bush, new bush. They love their Busch beer down there, and that is the truth. I've been to Iowa, and back when I was there, they were serving 3-2 years ago.
Yep.
And, you know, Busch is great, bad, but you make it 3-2, and it's a dirty Busch. Then it's gross.
Well, I look at it the same. Do you remember Pig's Eye?
I do remember Pig's Eye. Boy, that brings me back to junior high. Yes, I do.
I mean, that was it. I mean, that to me is like what Busch Light is like, it's Pig's Eye.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm right there with you. Getting away from our favorite drinks here, because now you're making me thirsty and things like that, and that's not good to drink on air, although, you know, we'll go there. But, going on those strange, on-the-cuff kind of trips, man, they sometimes yield the most surprising results. You know, I don't know if it's because you set intention and you know where you're going and things just, know that, or give me your idea why you think that just those ones that are less thought out seem to be the more active.
It is a very strange situation because in particular, because I've been to Shannon's house twice. The second time is going to be a web episode because we went out there and we shot, and the whole lead up to that is bizarre in its own. But us going out there, it was like a whole night of happenstance, right? Because you get out, you don't expect that you're going to some stranger's house to do a paranormal investigation where you don't know anything about anybody. Yeah. And we started getting her relatives coming through on the spirit box, and like their names, everything. We got Freddie's name, obviously on the spirit box. Sure. The one thing you want to do is get multiple syllables to be able to know that this is actually saying something. It was incredible. And the second time we went there, just as incredible, because then it became more of not even just that kind of information we're getting, but it was also the way that things were starting to feel in the house, the cold, the doors shutting on their own, just wafts of cologne coming up and coming in and going out, just the stuff we were getting. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. It was amazing.
One night here on the show, we're going to sit down and do a Ghost Box 101 with you, Greg, for the audience. I mean, really how to work it and what you should be looking for. Because that is actually quite honestly a frequently asked question from our audience. Well, how do I work the damn thing?
What we should do is one night I should stay at work. When I work in the Wyman building, it built in 1916. It's the location of my very first spirit box session. Go down into the basement if I can get the Wi-Fi to work, and do a spirit box session from down there on the air. Down there on the air.
That would be cool. Down there on the air, and he was a poet and did not know it, but he'd be down there on the air. I think that's a great idea. I really do, and because the spirit box, I like I said, I've been upfront with you. I was skeptical of the spirit box, mainly because I've never seen anyone really skill use it. And not saying I haven't been around them, but it's just, a lot of the investigators would throw it out as as maybe just an aside. Here, we'll turn this on and see what happens. But you actually sat there and took me through a full-on spirit box session, which yielded some very interesting results, I must say. And so it's changed my mind on the whole dynamic of spirit box. There's a lot more to it than I ever thought.
Well, and I'm going to be honest, the spirit box was skeptical of you also. I'm just to be fair, it told me. And,
it did. It said that guy's a skeptic.
Clearly you guys have made it through and figured it out, and now you guys are friends. So
we are friends, and I look forward to another happy meeting. Have you ever named your spirit box? Actually, that's just popped up in the chat box. I didn't come up with that question. A listener came up with it. Greg, do you ever name your spirit box? And if so, what do you name them?
It's like from the Liberty Mutual commercial. You named it Brad. No, I didn't.
You named it tattoo, and not as in what you have on your body, but it's a tattoo that's waiting for the plane. The plane.
No names. We but the funny thing is, no names. But I would never want to give that box away or have anything happen to it because it's. You get connected to your equipment. I firmly believe that this is mine and it belongs to me and I belong to it, sort of thing.
Oh man, right? It's love is what it is. Hey Greg, we're at the end though of another show. I hate to cut you off right there. We're at the end, and I'd like to thank everyone for listening. I'd like to thank our guests tonight and listening to really what amounted to being the Mind of Madness. Again, pick up Voices or God. And you're going to want to at least give it a quick read, look at the website at the very least, and figure out whether or not this poor person was going through insanity or was he truly having a religious experience. And so, again, we would like to thank Brett for coming on and really telling us. Brett Skolnick, everybody, was on first. Well, let's see. We had him at the bottom of the last hour all the way through this part of the show to the bottom of the last hour. So if you missed him, go back, download the MP3, and give it a listen. Until then, take care of each other, love each other, and see you guys next week. Until then, hey, try out that cool new thing that they're talking about called the Spirit Box.